So, Michael, it's funny. When we did part one, you're an author, you were a former bad boy, among other things. And we left off, we were talking about the battle of the sexes, and it seems, when I look online, it's just men and women are just going at each other, especially the younger generation compared to our when we were younger. We try to work with women, we try to, you know at least try to get a relationship. So what are you seeing out there compared to yesteryear when we were younger?
Will, I was literally thinking this while I was eating lunch right before we got online. And I saw a post on social media of a man, and I'm going to try my best to do this from memory.
Right.
I don't know him. He's nobody, but in my life. And he wrote that nobody talks about how hard it is to be a man dating today. I went out on 3 dates in the last 2 weeks and spent $750 and didn't get anything out of it. And none of them are even talking to me anymore. And what I was thinking of for myself, both in that moment and because it was a few days ago that I read it, and this morning is first of all, why are you spending $250 on a date?
Yeah.
Like, what are you trying to impress? What are you trying to get here? That's the first thing. But the thing that came up loudest for me, Will, is this. He's worried about money he spent. And oh yeah, and he also complained, I could have been out with my friends drinking, meaning he would have been spending money anyway. He would
Yeah.
have bought dinner anyway.
Yeah.
Like it turns out that we eat a lot as humans. And nowhere in there was any thought of, as a guy, my thing was I could have been out with my friends and I spent a lot of blankety blankety blank money. For a woman, it's such a different experience. It's letting their three best friends know where they're going on the date so
Yeah.
that if they don't show up and text them when they get home at night, where to look for them.
Right.
And so she's worried about her life and her body. He's worried about, I could have been watching the game with my friends getting drunk.
Yeah, yeah, that's a huge difference. And it's funny that you say that because I'll admit I've done that before where I've gone on a date and I spend so much money. I'm like, man, I could have, just stayed home and ordered pizza or something. But I look at it as an experience anyway, that I went out, I met someone. Hey, it might not turn into anything, but I did get to meet someone. Um, so Michael, tell me a little bit more about your story. Like, you did that transformation, like we talked about toxic masculinity, and now, you got into meditation. And again, like, did you see something in yourself? I know, and we talked about this before, that made you transform. Was it something that you didn't like about yourself? Something that someone told you that made you say, wait a minute, am I not seeing how I really am? Am I in the
Yeah,
ballpark there? Yeah.
you are. And there was a bunch of things, Will. And again, this was part of what our last conversation where
Yeah.
we sort of ended was this thing around women are more than just body parts.
Parts. Yeah.
And
100%.
that started it. And then I had these conversations with my friends and let the women in my life teach me why I didn't understand this thing that should have been obvious to a guy in his early 30s. I mean,
Mm.
I'm an intelligent person, so it should have been obvious to me. And as this all continued, Will, all of it happened really slow. One, there wasn't, there wasn't social media then.
Yeah.
Two, more importantly, you didn't really have there wasn't available resources to get information on these things besides your friends or family. I mean, you could go and read a 400-page book, but that's not going to help me for my date on Saturday night. Do you know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Yeah.
you just depended on who was around you to ask questions. And depending on who they are, you're sort of going to get the same answers no matter how you ask the question, which
Yeah.
is a good thing and a bad thing. I'm not judging it. So what happened for me was I wanted something more than what I had been searching for previously.
Right.
I wanted something more. I wanted to be with women who were at least as intelligent as me. I wanted to be with women who were doing something in the world that made the world a better place like I was. I wanted to be with women who were doing whatever their version was. And again, I'm thinking of this period of my life at that point.
Hmm.
I was doing meditation and Reiki every day, and they were a big part of my life and my identity and the core of what made me safe for myself and other people. And I wanted to be with women that were interested in those things, not necessarily meditation or Reiki, but exploring what's happening inside of me. Who am I? What am I bringing to the world? Not just the thing I bring to a first date to impress her so she'll go out with me again. Who actually am I?
Right.
And because of that, and in spite of that, I kept changing. And little by little, the women that I was sitting across from and sitting next to and lying next to in bed, they changed because I changed.
Mm. Wow, that's deep. Still, go yeah, keep on. I don't even interrupt.
No, you're great. You're doing great, Will. And they changed. Not meaning that I met them, they spent time with me and now they were different, meaning who was next to me and across from me. They changed because the women that I was involved with when I was DJing clubs and I was a mob guy and was a full-time criminal and drove around with the Corvettes and the big fat gold chains, and they would have hated the guy I was becoming because I would
Mm.
be no fun to them, and vice versa. If the women who I was starting to spend time with met me then, they would have ran for cover. Like literally, they would have been like, oh my God, this guy's scary. They just would have run, and they should have.
All right.
And I'm making it light and playful, but when I hear people, regardless of gender, when I hear them say, well, I keep going on dates and I keep having the exact same experience, and they leave out two different things. One, they keep bringing themselves to the date, meaning if I'm a jerk and I continue to be a jerk, on my date, I'm going to be a jerk.
Right.
Therefore, the person that I'm with either has to be an equal jerk for us to match, or they're not going to want to spend time with me.
Yeah.
And you can bullshit people for a first date, a third date. And there's some of us that are really good at it, could even bullshit somebody for months of who we really are.
Hmm.
But eventually they're going to find out. So why do the con?
Right.
They're eventually going to find out. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. This is
Mhm.
true. I'm not being hypothetical here.
Right.
So I'm not going to keep that a secret if we go out somewhere and they're like, oh, let's get some drinks. And it's like, definitely, we can go to a bar and hang out and listen to music and dance or whatever, but I don't drink alcohol.
Right.
And if they flinch and they're nervous, we know we don't belong together, but we can become friends and go watch basketball together, or go meditate together, or whatever. But we're not going to be lovers. We're not
Right.
going to be partners because it'll suck for both of us.
Mm.
Why do the con?
No, that, and I wanted to segue into are men trying to be something that they're not to impress a woman that maybe might not be their future partner, like act a certain way, um, like what you went through early on, where, people are telling you, well, like for me, Michael, I was told, oh, I'm too nice, you're always accommodating, you're always available, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, I was like that, but my relationship didn't work. I realized I was, the new term now that they're using, the Gen Z, a simp, and I was. I
Right,
rarely said no.
right.
And it's funny because somebody had mentioned this to me. I had personal boundaries, but I didn't have financial boundaries. So
Mm,
I would do, go out of my way and spend tons of money on a woman that didn't reciprocate in anything. So that's why I mean, like, do we as men change to try to fit into the woman's narrative? This again, am I in the ballpark? Am I making sense?
Well, you're both making sense. You're in the ballpark. And I just want to frame it 1 inch differently
Sure,
here.
sure.
Most men, when they first meet a woman, they act the way they perceive she
Mm.
wants him to be.
Mm.
Meaning, and I'm just going to be ridiculous because, again, I play volleyball often. And, you know, me pretending that one of the women that's on my team that I just met on Sunday, I don't know anything about her based on the way she talks and she dresses and her things. If I assume she wants a guy who's like this and very stoic, and I become stoic, and she looks at me in her mind, she thinks, oh, that's like my dad. I don't even want to be on the same damn team with this guy.
Gotcha. Mm.
So if I show up as me, they get to make an accurate assessment of whether they're going to be turned on by me, whether they're going to have fun by me, whether they can trust me, whether they feel safe with me, and whether they would like to spend a lot of time with me.
Right.
Now, obviously, it's really hard to show up on basically what's an interview, like especially if you meet somebody online. In essence, the first time you meet, it's a freaking job interview.
It's so
You know
true.
what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
It's different if you met together out with some friends at dinner and their sister was joined you all at the last minute and you were in the group and you spoke a little bit. The sister already knows something about you. Your friend
Yeah.
knows something about you know some. So there's some like built-in things there. But if you meet somebody online, they could be lying. They might not even be like a live human being. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? So it's a job interview. And it's really hard to be yourself at a job interview, regardless of what the job is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, what I invite people to do, encourage them, is if this is me at my best, whatever that means,
Right.
and this is me at my worst, try to show up somewhere in the middle, but closer to best, but don't be your best, because then they assume that's who you are.
Ah, okay. Wow. Talk more about that because that's pretty interesting. So um so you should be somewhat mysterious then, like not
No, no,
okay.
that's not what I mean. What I mean is if I, using the phrase you were talking about, simp in some of your past way of being,
Yeah.
if I'm agreeable to everything her and I are saying in a conversation, I say yes to everything. Do you want to go here? Of course. Is this awful? What do you think? It's awful? Yes, no, it's awful. Like if I do that, I can't do that for 9 years straight.
Right, right, right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's
100%.
not realistic. I'm
Yeah.
literally lying to her,
Yeah.
both in the minute and representing who I am.
Right.
So, you know, one of the things I do whenever I meet new people is I feel embarrassed saying this because it feels really egotistical. People get impressed with me. I've been
Mm.
successful at a lot of things.
Right.
And I took some really awful external and internal situations and circumstances in my life and worked through them and became a wonderful human.
Right.
Flawed, but wonderful.
Right.
So I'm really conscious of, like, I keep in the back of my head that when I meet people and they look at me with that thing of, oh my God, he's done this, he's got a book out, and he does this, he runs an organization, and he has his private practice, and he also does. When I see that in their eyes, I make sure I mention in the conversation that I literally can't type, and I'm not making a joke.
Right.
Do you know what a diphthong is? Does that mean anything to you?
No, no, no.
In every language that uses letters or
Okay.
symbols, if two letters together make one sound, like TH makes the,
Oh, okay.
CH makes ch, those are called diphthongs.
Okay.
When I'm typing, no matter what I do diphthongs reversed. So
Ah,
I've
okay.
stopped typing. Everything I do is voice to text. I'll make sure I'll mention things like that in conversation. I'll
Yeah.
mention the fact that I have spent off and on probably the equivalent of 3 years trying to learn how to speak Spanish. And I know a lot more words. I can hear a lot more words. I still can't have a conversation with anybody. And I've tried 3 other languages. I suck at learning languages.
Okay.
I'm really bad at it. So I don't do it in the spirit of, oh, authenticity. I do it in the spirit of, this is true. I've
Yeah.
achieved great things in my life, and there's things that people that haven't achieved great things can do with ease that I can't,
Right. Mm.
and everywhere in between. And that's how I try to show up, not just for dating, for anything. I try to show up as, yeah, this is what I do when I'm spectacular.
Right.
This is the way I am most of the time. And this is me at things I suck at.
Right. You being out there, you being authentic, and all. I love that. Well, first of all, Michael, my God, I could talk to you for like another hour. So enlightening how you saw what you were going through when you were younger, and you made that change. That's admirable. And more people should definitely need to know more about this. And before I let you go, just a couple more things. What are you hoping to accomplish in the next 3 to 6 months? Like getting the word out, like if you can make the change, I know other people can make the change. Anything that you would like more to talk about in terms of, being your authentic self, but not always saying no to, I mean, not saying yes to everything, and then 9 years later you're miserable, So
You're
yeah,
both miserable.
yeah. Because there's no challenge. She sees no challenge.
Right.
Yeah. So
But
yeah,
also, she's not getting you.
right.
The part of it is no challenge.
Yeah.
And part of it is there's no spine.
Yeah.
But more than
That is
anything,
so
she's not
true.
actually getting you.
Right.
People want you.
Hmm.
Literally, Will. They want you.
Right.
I'm being playful, but I'm serious. There are millions of women in the world that if they met you, they would fall in love and adore you because of who you are.
Hmm.
So if you're being something different, you're going to attract a woman who probably won't love Will.
Right. Mm.
So, but getting to your question, there's things that I think about is the work that I'm doing both through my book and podcasts and the community that I work with and my private practice. It's the same thing, all spelled differently.
Right.
It's this. Um, if you keep, do you remember the movie Groundhog Day, Bill
Yes.
Murray?
Yeah.
And if you use that as a model of, I keep doing the same things
Thing.
and I keep ending up miserable, and I keep doing the same things and I keep ending up miserable, and I think it's all of them.
Right.
I can tell you it's not them.
Yeah.
It's not them. And find out, however you want to do it. You could do through writing music, art, poetry, meditation, yoga, journaling, dance, movement, all of the ways, therapy, group counseling, joining conscious communities. Find out who you really are, not what you've pretended to be, not what you want to be, not what somebody told you you should be, not what an author of a book,
Yeah. I want to,
not
yeah,
what the
definitely
author of
want to
a
talk
book
about that.
told you,
Yeah.
right? But not what the author of a book told you should be. Find out who you
You are.
actually are
Yeah.
and do everything you can to support being that thing.
Yeah. No, that's deep.
So,
Yeah.
so there's a bunch of things that happen along with that. Is one, you're going to find people in your life who match who you are, not who you're pretending to be, who you'd like to be, who you'd like them to think you are. The people in your life are going to mirror on some level who you are. And
Mm.
it's amazing. It's amazing. I am surrounded by extraordinary people, Will. And I'm saying that as blunt as can be. They are extraordinary.
Yeah.
There's no false humility here. In my group of 10, 12 friends, I am probably the least intelligent one in the group, and I'm really smart.
Yeah. Well, I don't believe that, but
No,
hey,
it's
that's some
true.
circle.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And I'm really creative and interesting, and I'm probably in the middle. I
Right.
am I do a lot of great work in the world. I'm probably still in the middle. I
Yeah.
surround myself with really great people, and the mirror that provides to me, it's such a good reflection.
Yeah.
So one, you're gonna feel differently. Two, the people that are going to be in your life, friends, partners, dates, lovers, they're going to mirror you.
Yeah.
And you get to see the reflection of everything that's extraordinary about who we all are. But now we get into the more interesting part
Hmm.
is if I know what my open wounds are, does that phrase mean anything to you? Or do you
Yeah.
want me to speak?
No,
Okay.
no, I've heard
If,
that. Yeah, I heard that term.
yeah.
Yeah.
If I know what my open wounds are and I'm actively working on them,
Hmm.
the chance of me taking a glass in an argument and throwing it against the wall to prove how angry I am and that you should be scared of me, that doesn't really happen.
Mm.
And me storming out of the room and going in another room and shutting down so that you can't talk to me, those things aren't going to happen. Me
Yeah.
threatening every time we're not getting along, well, if this keeps happening, I'm going to leave you. Those things stop happening. People don't have to bend, twist, and contort to be in my presence.
Mm. Love that. I love that. And before I let you go, Mike, talk more about your book.
So, okay. So this is going to be both talking about my book, but the second part of
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah, yeah.
I
Please,
want to answer
please.
one more part of your
Yeah, definitely. Continue,
question
continue.
about
Yes, yes, of
what my
course.
work is. My work is this, and it sounds like two separate things, but it's not. It's one thing, but the pieces that go together.
Mm.
My work is that for us men, we don't have to be what they taught us to be. We don't have to be the box that they put us in.
Yeah.
And part of it is our responsibility that we allowed them to put in our box, but some of it isn't. And one, we don't have to do that. We
Mhm.
don't have to do that. And for the men who are listening, and you think me and other people like me exaggerate how unsafe it is for girls and women to be in the world with us, I want you to consider two things. The first one is globally, somewhere near 1 billion girls and women in their lifetime are going to be either physically abused or sexually assaulted by a man.
Mm.
1 billion, because it's 1 in 4, and there's about 4 billion girls and women in the world. The
Right.
second piece to this, which is more important, if you say, well, none of the girls and women in my life have had that happen, that means you're not safe enough to tell.
Right.
Because
Wow.
if you have 32 friends, at least 8 of them, if they're girls or women, have been physically abused or sexually assaulted.
Mm.
Okay. So, men, we don't have to be this thing. For women, continue to be on guard when you're meeting men and know that men can change. But here's the asterisk: pop culture, new age, and pop psychology and self help books make it seem like people can change their core in months. It's a blatant lie.
Right.
So if you're with a guy and he's actually an awful human being, and you may have known that on the front end, you may not have known that on the front end, but somewhere along the way you figured out he's an awful guy and he's not safe for you, your kids, your family, your friends. If you think he's going to change by October, because it's May now, if you think he's going to change by October, you're going to feel even worse in October than you do in May.
Wow.
It may take years or decades. So men can change. It's a lie that men can't change, and
Mm.
it's a lie that we're going to change at our core in months. Same thing with women. You're not going to change who you are in your core in months. It takes time.
Mm.
So my book is that it's those two things. I'm using myself, if you will, as a case study of what it's like to grow up in a misogynistic, violent, aggressive family of men who were liars, cheaters, and thieves, and taught me how to do that. And I resisted it. And then things fell apart in my life and I stopped resisting it.
Mhm.
So I'm the case study of how awful this can go. I became an awful human being, and I'm not being self-deprecating. I became an awful human being. And a lot of people got hurt by me in lots of ways. And it ran its course. I
Right.
needed to change. And I was absolutely changed. In my mind, I got sober on September 11th, 1989. And
Wow.
in my mind, I was going to be fixed by New Year's.
Mm.
Not fixed yet.
Yeah. 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 It's a work in progress still.
Right. Work in progress. And that's my message is everybody can change. I know in pop psychology and self-help, they all say narcissists can't change. They can. It's only about 3 to 5% of them that can change. Narcissists can change. It says in all the literature that only 2 to 3% of men who are sexual predators that have been convicted, meaning perpetrators, can change, but 3% of them can. That
Mm.
doesn't mean you put your eggs in the basket of that person.
Right.
Hey, he's going to be one of the, she's going to be one of the 3%. No, what I'm just bringing light to is don't buy the never, can't, and always.
Okay.
Read the book Sociopath by Patrick Gagne. It's not perfect. It's a wonderful book. It's a memoir about her life as a sociopath.
Yeah.
And it gives it a window into people say sociopaths can't change. Well, they can, but they might not be quote unquote ever normal, whatever that means, but they can change. I am I am all of the things that I just listed at
Right.
some point in my life. And I've changed. And it took a long time. It took a lot of hard work. It took having great mentors and teachers. And it took, and this is the part everybody leaves out. It took people loving me a lot, not in a
Mm.
codependent way, in a way of, I'm going to hug you till you cry because I know you want to cry.
Right.
Not, okay, you gotta go to your meeting. Okay, you have to go to therapy. That's the codependent way. That's
Yeah.
not it. If you want people in your life to change, excuse my language, but love the shit out of them. Don't
Mm.
control them. Don't try to own them. They're not position. They're not possessions. They're not goldfish. They're real live human beings.
Right.
Really, actually love them. And if they can't receive it,
Yeah.
so that's what my book's about. It's called Raised by Wolves, Possibly Monsters, from Mobster to Reiki Master. You can find it pretty much online everywhere, but the easiest place is to just buy it right from my website, michaelswerdloff.com. And I just finished recording the audio book a couple of weeks ago,
Ah,
and it's
okay.
now in an editor, and we're in the process of cleaning up. Back to the mistakes part and not being impressed with me. We're back to the part of fixing all the mistakes. And it's a really intense book. And I want to say this to everybody, and I mean it, and I'm saying it with a smile. It's a really intense book. It's uncomfortable for most people
Yeah.
because it takes a dark look at the thing that we all say, he, she, they, them is a monster. And we'll talk about what kind of monster they are, but we don't really want to know anything about the monster.
Right.
So you're going to find out something about what it's like to be the monster and then what it's like to not be the monster.
No, it
And
sounds
it's really
good.
raw.
Yeah, no,
It's
definitely.
beautiful. It's beautiful. It's inspiring. There's a lot of hope in it, and it's a really tough read.
And say that website one more time where people could find the book.
Well, I'll help you.
Yeah.
It's michaelswerdloff.com. So it's my name,
Yeah.
michaelswerdloff.com, or you can look under Providence Holistic Counselor, Coach, and Reiki.
Yeah, I'll definitely put that in the show notes. Well, again, Michael, first of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. We got this part two. I can't wait to post it. And again, buddy, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Will. I really appreciate you, and I really mean it. I wasn't being generic.
Yeah.
There are literally a million people that if they met you and you showed up as this guy that I'm talking with, that
Yeah.
will absolutely love you.
No, I
I
appreciate
mean it.
that. No, I appreciate that. Well, Michael, again, thank you so much, buddy.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye bye.